I still remember the sound of the champagne cork popping that night. Sharp, careless, echoing off the walls of the bridal suite. It should have been the happiest weekend of my life, the night before my wedding. But when I opened the adjoining hotel room door, what I saw froze me in place. Her laugh was the first thing I heard. Low, breathy, unmistakable. Claire, my maid of honor, my best friend since college. And then I saw him, Daniel, my fiancé, the man who, in just a few hours, was supposed to stand at the altar and promise me forever. They didn't even notice me at first. The white silk sheets twisted around their bodies like vines. My bridal lingerie, the one I bought especially for him, crumpled on the carpet. Half-empty champagne glasses on the nightstand. My stomach lurched, but I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Instead, I stepped backward, slowly closed the door until only a sliver of light cut through, and let the truth sink in. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a drunken slip. It was betrayal, deliberate, cruel, and planned. 3 years ago, Daniel wasn't just another man at a charity gala. He was the man who made me laugh when I hadn't laughed in months. He wore a navy suit and that infuriatingly confident smile, the kind of smile that should have made me roll my eyes, but somehow it didn't. He pulled me into his orbit effortlessly. Within a year, he was my entire world. Vacations in Italy, late-night drives just to watch the city lights, whispered promises of forever. When he proposed under a snowfall in Paris, I said yes without hesitation. And Claire, she had always been my anchor. The kind of friend who saw me through every heartbreak, who held my hair back when I was sick, who laughed the loudest at my worst jokes. She was supposed to stand next to me at the altar, holding my bouquet, smiling as I promised my life to Daniel. We were the perfect trio. Or so I thought. The signs had been there. I just hadn't wanted to see them. It started with late-night texts Daniel claimed were work-related. Claire, meanwhile, swore she was texting some new guy she had met. At my bridal shower, I caught a fleeting glance between them, just half a second too long. My stomach twisted, but I told myself I was imagining things. 2 weeks before the wedding, doubt gnawed at me enough that I did what I swore I'd never do. I checked Daniel's phone while he was in the shower. I expected guilt. Instead, I found something worse: meticulous planning. Her name wasn't even saved as Claire. She was Erin. Clever but not clever enough. The texts weren't just flirty. They weren't just lustful. They were strategic. Plans of what they'd do once we were married. How Daniel would gain access to my trust fund. How Claire would stay close to keep me distracted. I remember reading the words. After the honeymoon, she won't suspect a thing. We'll finally be free. My blood ran cold. My lungs felt like they'd collapsed. But when Daniel stepped out of the shower, towel around his waist, asking me if I wanted breakfast, I smiled like nothing was wrong. I laughed, kissed him. Because in that moment I realized something. Walking away would make me the victim. But staying and planning could make me the author of their downfall. 3 days before the wedding, I called my lawyer. We quietly rewrote the prenup. Daniel didn't bother to read it. He just signed where I pointed, too arrogant, too sure of his hold on me. The new clause was simple. If he was caught cheating before or during the marriage, he would walk away with nothing. Not a single dollar. Not even the watch on his wrist. Then I called the hotel manager. I requested that the bridal suite be given an adjoining room, one I could discreetly fill with the very audience I wanted when the truth finally exploded. I was done with secrets whispered behind closed doors. If they wanted to betray me, they could do it under the brightest light imaginable. That morning I played my role perfectly. Mimosas with Claire, laughter with the makeup artists, sentimental texts with Daniel. I even let Claire zip up my wedding dress. I thanked her, hugged her, pretended she was still my sister in spirit. 20 minutes before the ceremony, I excused myself. I told everyone I needed a few quiet moments to practice my vows alone. Instead, I walked down the hall to Daniel's suite. And there it was. The final nail in the coffin of my love story. They were tangled together again, too reckless, too sure I'd never find out. This time I didn't close the door. I stepped back, dialed his parents' number. Then his brother's. Then his grandmother's. Every person already dressed for the ceremony, waiting for the music to start. I summoned them one by one. My voice was calm, steady, almost eerily collected. I need you to come to Daniel's suite right now. There's something you should see before the wedding. Minutes later, the hallway outside his room was lined with family. Confused, curious, whispering. I opened the door wide and stepped aside. Gasps filled the room like gunfire. Daniel stumbled off the bed, stammering, reaching for excuses that wouldn't come. Claire clutched the sheets to her chest, her face drained of all color. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't scream. I simply said, "Daniel, would you like to explain to your grandmother why the woman who was supposed to stand next to me at the altar is in your bed instead?" His father's face went crimson. His mother covered her mouth. His grandmother began to cry. The silence was heavier than any shout could have been. Then, from my clutch, I pulled out a thin envelope. I held it up between two fingers. "This," I said, "is the updated prenup you signed. You might want to read the highlighted part." Daniel's hands shook as he unfolded the papers. His eyes scanned the lines. I watched the blood drain from his face. His father snatched it and read aloud the clause for everyone to hear. In the event of infidelity prior to or during the marriage, the party at fault forfeits all rights to shared property, assets, and financial support. I smiled, calm and unbroken. So, there will be no wedding. But there will be a press release should anyone ask why. I let that sink in before I added. And in case you're wondering who leaked your text messages and the hotel security footage to the bridal party. I looked straight at Claire. That was me. No one moved. No one spoke. Daniel stood naked in more ways than one, stripped of dignity, money, and the future he had plotted so carefully. Claire looked like she wanted the earth to open up and swallow her whole. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me broken. Instead, I turned, heels clicking against the polished hotel floor. At the door, I paused, looked over my shoulder, and said my final words. "You two deserve each other. Enjoy the ruins." And with that, I walked out, leaving behind the ashes of a life I never really had, and stepping into the fire of a future I would build on my own terms.